Well, sir, it's early evening as we enter the small house halfway up in the next block now. And here in the living room we find Mr. and Mrs. Victor Gook and their son, Mr. Rush Gook, abiding quietly at home. Vic is established at the library table, competing with himself in a leisurely game of solitaire. Sade occupies her husband's easy chair with a newspaper. And young Rush, stretched on the davenport, stares at the ceiling and thinks thoughts. But now a silence of some duration is broken. Listen.
Are there any people present who can keep a secret?
Bluetooth Johnson claims he's got an important secret.
That's so?
He claims he has. But I wouldn't be surprised at what it's just an excuse to act mysterious. Meet him in the hall up at school, and he'll wink and snort and carry on like he's just busting with something.
Most interesting.
Uh-huh.
It's a little disheartening to inaugurate a conversation and have some leatherhead take it right out of your hands.
In what way?
I made a statement. I said, are there any people present who can keep a secret? That statement was intended to be provocative.
Well, what is your secret?
It's simply this. I found out today that I'm lined up to receive what I consider a very great honor.
Yeah?
What would you think of seeing my photograph on the cover of the Kitchenware Dealer's Quarterly?
Really?
It's a little early to do any boasting about it. Won't appear for quite a little while. But it seems to be all set.
You mean your picture be on the front of the magazine?
Yep.
All by yourself?
All by myself.
Well, say.
I figured you'd probably sit up straight in your chair.
That'll be something to say.
Yes, it will. I don't know of anybody else in the Gook family that's ever modeled for a magazine cover.
What we'll want to do is get a hold of several copies, to send to Bess and the Mena, Arkansas tribe and around.
No, I'll get a whole stack of them.
Might give one to Mr. Gumpox. He's got magazine covers plastered all over the walls in the shed where he keeps his horse and garbage wagon. Of course, his magazine covers is mostly ladies. Mr. Gumpox likes the kind of magazine covers where the ladies got on swimming suits and also the
we're scheduled to listen to a fascinating monologue.
Go get yourself a book and read, Willie. Plans anymore. A person can't get a word in endways. What's the idea of it?
All explained in a letter I received from the editor of the Kitchenware Dealer's Quarterly this afternoon. He's going to run photographs of Consolidated Kitchenware personalities, see?
Uh-huh.
Start off with the president of the company, old J.K. Burroughs himself. And in the issue after that, he'll probably run the general sales manager, then the superintendent of one of the plants, like Mr. Rubish, and so on down the line. Frostbite, old lemon rind.
Oh.
Wipe that scowl off the pretty face and run Papa an errand. My suit coat's hanging over the banister in the hall, and in the inside pocket you'll find a letter. Fetch the letter and I'll give you $40.
Will you give me a dime?
No.
Nickel?
No, trot along. The editor paints the whole picture, kiddo. I'll read you what he says so you'll understand it.
All right.
Will you give me a dime tomorrow?
No.
Nickel?
No. I feel kind of bucked up about this.
Well, I should think so.
The editor could have selected a chief accountant from any one of our 50-odd plants.
And he took you. Well, that's quite a thing. You're sure it'll be just you all by yourself on the cover of the magazine and nobody else?
Just me by myself and nobody else. The caption will read something like this. Victor Rodney Gook, chief accountant of plant number 14. Another efficient officer in our kitchenware army.
That is quite a thing. Yes, sir. Picture on a magazine cover.
It occurred to me you might make light of it.
Gollies, no.
Well, I'm pleased you take this attitude.
Why, Bess and Walter's shoes will take root and fly through the ceiling. They'll be so astonished. They think you're some big muckety-muck anyway with your office and clean white shirt and everything. This'll clinch it. Gollies, they'll show that magazine to everybody from Freeport to Galena.
You found the letter, Stone Bruce?
Right here.
Extract it from its envelope and read the contents aloud.
Can I have a dime day after tomorrow?
No.
Nickel?
No. Of course, there's no use getting excited yet. My photograph won't appear till sometime in the future.
When?
I don't know for sure. They'll run photographs of some of the big shots first. However, the thing's all set, and that's what matters.
Dear Mr. Gook, I am writing to ask permission to use your photograph on the cover of one of our forthcoming issues. The editorial staff has laid out...
He goes into a big wordy spiel there. But boiled down to a nutshell, he says just what I explained to you.
Mm-hmm.
He'll begin with the president of the company and work down along to guys of my caliber. The idea is to show representative men in different departments of the organization.
Uh-huh.
Clever notion, don't you think?
Yes, indeed.
Consolidated Kitchenware is made up of an army of loyal soldiers. This army naturally has officers. Here's the general, old J.K. Burroughs, president of the company. Here's one of the colonels, S.B. Price, general sales manager. Next issue, you'll see on the cover another colonel, Samuel P. Grook, director of personnel. You get it?
Uh-huh.
Finally, they'll present on their magazine cover one of the lieutenants, old Vic Gook, chief accountant at plant number 14.
Oh, that's just lovely, Vic. Bess and Walter will throw their shoulder blades out of joint. They'll be so excited.
I'm tickled you take this attitude, Sade.
Why?
Well, sometimes when I come home enthusiastic about something, you throw cold water.
Oh, I don't either.
Sometimes you do.
Well, how many times have you come home and said you were going to have your picture on the front cover of a magazine?
It is pretty nice, ain't it?
Oh, I should say so.
Can I have a dime the day after tomorrow, Gov?
No.
Nickel?
No. They got a list there in the letter, haven't they? List of the fellows whose pictures they're going to run?
Yeah.
Read off a few.
J.K. Burroughs.
President of Consolidated.
Uh-huh.
S.B. Price.
General sales manager.
Mm-hmm.
Samuel B. Grook.
Director of personnel.
Edson G. Thomas.
Vice president in charge of plant coordination.
N.W. Kilgores. Charles J. Flinks. O.I. Cheesley. K. Lewis Otto. Harrison U. Loop. M.S. Dawson. Felix Flank. R.D. Flug. Raymond Belcher Bierman. Howard U.
Well,
Kennedy.
that's enough, blowtorch. Just wanted to give your mother the idea. I better buy a new suit for this, hadn't I?
You mean to have your picture taken in?
Yeah.
Your brown still looks nice.
Oh, yeah, but don't you think an event like this calls for a little extra trimmings?
Yeah, maybe so.
I think it does. And that brings up another thing I was thinking about this afternoon. Shall I send in a picture where I'm all dressed up and dignified? Or would it be better to use one where I'm at my desk working?
I don't know.
I don't know either. It'll take some thought.
Gov, these pictures of guys are scheduled to be printed in alternate issues.
That's so? I was so excited over the first part of the letter, I skipped over most of the rest.
They're going to run J.K. Burroughs' picture one issue. Next issue will be summer scene. Next issue, S.B. Price's picture. Next issue, winter scene. Next issue, Samuel B. Grook. Next issue, child with Newfoundland dog, and so on.
Oh, huh?
They got two columns. One's a list of the fellas that's going to have their photographs on the magazine cover, and the other column's a list of the alternate magazine cover pictures.
Oh, huh?
Like child with Newfoundland dog, scene in central Illinois, Niagara Falls by moonlight, dairy farm near Madison, Wisconsin, so on and so forth.
Oh, huh? Well, maybe that's a good idea, too. Stagger the magazine covers. Photograph of a different guy on the cover every issue might get stale.
Can I have a dime the day after tomorrow?
No.
Nickel?
Yeah, I'll order a whole stack of Kitchenware dealers' quarterlies when the issue comes along with me on the front. We can send one to all the relations.
Oh, Bess and Walter scream so loud they'll fall off the chimney. Oh, they will, I know it. See, they think you're pretty heavy potatoes anyhow. Got your own office and telephone and wear a clean white shirt to work every day. Oh, yes, sir, they'll walk the tightrope till who choked Billy Patterson.
I guess it would be better if I dressed up and looked dignified.
Be a lot more impressive.
Wear a dark, rich-looking suit, don't you know?
Uh-huh.
White collar, shirt, sober necktie.
Mm-hmm.
I think I'll practice facial expressions before a looking glass. Makes all the difference in the world when you have your picture taken. How
These photographs are going to be used in order.
Beg pardon?
These photographs are going to be used in order.
Naturally. They wouldn't print my picture ahead of the president's or the general sales managers.
You're 30th on the list, though.
Am I?
Yeah, 30th.
So what?
Makes you really 60th on the list.
How you figure?
Do you and the president and the sales manager and so on alternate with these other cover pictures? Niagara Falls by moonlight and child with Newfoundland dog?
Well,
makes you 60th.
What you talking about?
The Kitchenware Dealer's Quarterly only comes out 4 times a year, don't it?
Well...
How many times does 4 go into 60?
Well, it goes...
15 times.
What you talking about?
15 times.
What is this?
Mom, do you know when Gov's picture appears on the cover of the Kitchenware Dealer's Quarterly?
When?
15 years from now.
Oh.
15 years from now. Ain't that right, Gov?
Is that so?
Well...
Well, for mercy's sakes.
Gov, can I have a nickel the day after tomorrow?
No.
Which concludes another brief interlude at the small house halfway up in the next block. Well, sir, it's late afternoon as we approach the small house halfway up in the next block now. And here on the back porch we find Mr. and Mrs. Victor Gook. Husband and wife are seated side by side on the top step but one. The former is speaking at the moment, and we hear him say,
Erickson sure is the cute one for figuring out smart angles.
Well, I don't call this angle so smart.
He's certainly ingenious.
Yeah, I suppose, if a person admires rotten little stingy tricks.
I don't admire rotten little stingy tricks, Sade.
Boy, if he's not the prize landlord.
Did the idea of his giving your home away as an anniversary present make you feel uncomfortable?
Yes, it did, kind of.
Here comes Raymond Belcher Berman, the brainy bum from Buffalo.
Uh-huh.
Hi.
Hi.
Keep off the grass.
Okay.
Mr. Erickson himself thought his little trick was cute. He as much as said so. Tittered, don't you know, and winked.
Uh-huh.
My daughter Beulah's wedding anniversary comes along next week, he said, and it's up to her old papa to produce a present. I'm going to give her this house. Well, he's not going to give her the deed to it or anything. The ownership's really not going to change.
Maybe Beulah will collect the rent.
No, I asked him that.
Looks like rain.
You look like rain your own self.
Okay. I receive any telephone calls? Brutus Johnson was going to get in touch with me on a very trivial matter.
Telephone has rung all afternoon long.
Move over a little, Garvin. I'll sit down.
Oh,
Not that much trouble to move over a little.
I never get a moment's rest.
No, I guess not.
Fresh. Mr. Erickson's going to give this house to his daughter.
Really?
Anniversary present.
We have to move out?
No.
Will his daughter be our landlord?
No. Nothing has changed, Vic. We'll pay our rent to Erickson just as we've always done. Beulah don't get any benefit. See, he's not even given her the deed to the house.
All she gets out of it is the privilege of telling her friends she owns property on Virginia Avenue.
That's all.
Our landlord is a sweet old landlord and a very cagey operator.
He might just as well make his daughter a present of the People's Bank building.
He don't own the People's Bank building.
No, he don't.
Like Vernon Pagel. When he paid Leland Richards the 87 cents he owed him. Makes a very comical anecdote. Full of chuckles and side-splitting belly laughs. Good for a convulsive titter every trip. I've seen fellas roar like hyenas.
Well, tell it if you're going to tell it. Don't just sit there describing it all afternoon.
Well, Vernon owed Leland this 87 cents, see? He owed it to him a good long while. Finally, one evening he come around to Leland's residence and got him up from the supper table. Leland, he said, putting his hand on Leland's shoulder, Leland, I'm sorry I've let my 87-cent debt drag along such a long time. Leland, he said, and tears filled his eyes, I am proud and happy to present you with this document. Appreciate what the document was?
No.
An IOU. His personal IOU for 87 cents, all written fancy on his mother's stylish purple stationery. And tears come to Leland's eyes. Vernon, he said, squeezing Vernon's hand, I thank you. And Leland didn't realize till an hour later he hadn't actually been paid.
Side-splitting story, all right.
Well, heck.
I haven't told you the good parts of Erickson's stunt yet.
Haven't you?
He asked me how much it'd cost to buy enough red ribbon to go around the house.
Red ribbon?
His idea is to wrap up the house in red ribbons. Streamers, don't you know?
Oh, the way you do up a box of candy?
See, you run a length of red ribbon clear around the house, and at the front door have a big, elaborate bowl with maybe some flowers and a little envelope with a card inside that says, to Beulah on her 7th wedding anniversary from her affectionate papa.
Well, say.
Like Smelly Clark.
The day of the anniversary, he'll invite Beulah and her husband out for a stroll after supper and lead them around here.
Surprise, huh?
Sure.
Like Smelly Clark.
And Beulah will say, why, Papa, what is the ribbon doing on the house?
Open the envelope and read the card, darling.
Why, Papa, you old big-hearted sweetheart, you.
Think nothing of it, Cody.
Like Smelly Clark.
Actually, he's not giving away anything.
No.
Why, you know what he told me this afternoon. Miss Gook, the house will be Beulah sometime anyway. He didn't wink when he said that, but he come awful close to it.
Like Smelly Clark.
I asked him, I said, Mr. Erickson, I said, you don't mean your daughter and her man might move in here, do you? Oh, no, he said, nothing like that. Think I'd give up good renters like you people? And he come awful close to winking again.
Like Smelly Clark.
Well, Mr. Erickson, I said, will we pay our rent to your daughter? No, sirree, sir, he said. You'll continue to pay your rent to me. And I said, are you giving your daughter the ownership of the property? No, he said, the deed will remain in my possession.
He's a catbird, that guy.
Isn't he, though?
Like Smelly Clark.
Oh, what about Smelly Clark?
Nobody's interested.
I thirst to hear an anecdote concerning Smelly Clark.
Well, Smelly took it in his noodle one time to present his father with an expensive birthday gift. He went downtown to see what they had in the different stores.
Hey, Willie, Mr. Erickson made a suggestion about you. This is funny, Vic. Why couldn't Rush dress up like Cupid?
What?
Yeah, he said, on the day of the anniversary, I'll invite Beulah and her husband to go for a walk after supper, and we'll stroll around here, and they'll see the ribbons and the flowers, and I was thinking maybe Rush could be dressed up like Cupid and come running outdoors and hand Beulah the envelope with the card inside.
Kind of a big, clumsy, lumbering Cupid for my money.
What did you say to that proposal, Mom?
I just laughed. I said I thought you were a pretty large boy to prance around barefooted, wearing a little flimsy skirt and flowers in your hair.
Holy smoke, yes.
So we threw that particular idea in the trash bucket.
I hope.
Well, is Erickson going to go through with the red ribbon stunt?
No. I told him enough ribbon to go clear around the house would be very expensive. Of course, that put the kibosh on that. He hinted around, didn't I have some ribbon, but I said no. Oh, he's some dandy old landlord, that landlord.
Swindling his own daughter.
Yeah.
Like Cracky Otto.
He made me feel like kind of a halfway Confederate. The way he winked and tittered and grinned. As much as to say, we're sure putting one over on him this trip, eh, partner?
Like Cracky Otto.
This property will belong to Beulah sometime anyway, Miss Gook. Why, for a minute there, I thought he was going to poke me in the ribs.
Like Cracky Otto.
Well, what about Cracky Otto?
He went to take a violin lesson and never had any violin. His uncle gave him a violin, and arrangements was made with a violin professor to teach him how to play on it. Well, the evening before the day he was due to take his first lesson, he hit a friend of his over the head with the violin and smashed it. Well, naturally, he was afraid to tell his father and mother what happened, so he never mentioned it. However, he went to the professor's house and said he was all set to take a lesson. Professor said, "Where's your violin?" Cracky said, "Never mind about the violin. Just go ahead with the instructions." Well, Professor said he couldn't teach anybody to play a violin that didn't have a violin. "Just go ahead with the instructions," Cracky told him. "I'll just pretend I got a violin." The violin professor flew into a towering rage and kicked him outdoors.
Well, what's that got to do with what we were talking about?
Nothing. Just a comical anecdote is all.
Oh.
Father Erickson suggests you and me dress up for the occasion?
Never mentioned it.
I was thinking it'd be nice if I wore a tuxedo and you wore an evening gown. We could sit out on the front porch and wave our handkerchiefs when Erickson arrived with his daughter and her man.
Yes, and holler, "Happy wedding anniversary."
Like Heine Cole.
What about Heine Cole?
When Frida got married.
Well, what about Heine Cole when Frida got married?
He skulked around the church moaning, "I've lost a sister, but I've gained a brother-in-law. I've lost a sister, but I've gained a brother-in-law."
Yeah, I remember that. Smart Alec.
He acted like his heart was broken. Matter of fact, he was just showing off.
Oh, golly, but that landlord of ours.
He's a sweet old landlord, and we love him.
Yes, sir. Hey, it's starting to sprinkle.
I told you it looked like rain.
You look like rain your own self.
Okay.
Well, come on, Willie. Help me close the windows.
Which concludes another brief interlude at the small house halfway up the next block. Well, sir, it's early evening as our scene opens now, and here in the living room of the small house halfway up in the next block, we find Mr. and Mrs. Victor Gook and their son, Mr. Rush Gook. Vic is established in his easy chair, staring reflectively at the ceiling. Sade glances through the newspaper on the Davenport, and young Rush at the library table contemplates his algebra textbook without enthusiasm. And now the master of the menage speaks. Listen.
I suppose you noticed I received a letter from Lodge headquarters today.
Yeah, person can't mistake that yellow envelope.
The communication contains something rather important.
They want you to dig down in your pocket and whip out $49 for something?
No money is involved. This is kind of a thing, say, that you generally make fun of.
Is that?
So much so I hesitate to tell about it.
Well, don't then.
I think I'd better. Side-saddle, old barn loft. Are you particularly busy?
No.
Be a wonderful fella and step to the bookcase and get me volume 7 in my lodge library.
I'll do it. He's studying.
No, I'm not. My brain is like a piece of cotton this evening. Can't fasten it on algebra. My mind insists on wandering to other topics.
Oh.
Kiddo, next Saturday is a significant date as far as the sacred stars of the Milky Way is concerned.
Yeah?
Next Saturday has been set aside as National Exalted Big Dipper Day. The fraternity in general does honor to all the Exalted Big Dippers, and the Exalted Big Dippers themselves do honor to each other. A variety of ceremonies are scheduled.
Here I go. Volume 7.
Thanks. You're a wonderful fella, and are now free to resume your studies.
I'm quitting my studies for tonight.
I never saw you work any problems.
Miss Monroe didn't assign any problems. Our lesson for tomorrow is just a bunch of junk to memorize.
Got it memorized?
Yeah.
I'll bet.
Kiddo.
Next Saturday, Exalted Big Dipper Day. Go ahead.
There are a variety of ceremonies planned, and here and there throughout the country. It's to be quite an occasion.
You want to go to Cincinnati, Indiana, or somewhere and march in some parade?
No.
You people skulking around discussing parades might be interested to know Smelly Clark's Uncle Strap.
Whistle stop, old flatiron. Papa and Mama are talking over a matter which is of absolutely no interest to you. Permit us to finish our conversation and then consider yourself at liberty to recount all the anecdotes that come to mind. Our local chapter here in town isn't planning to make much of Exalted Big Dipper Day. A lot of the fellas are going to be out of the city, and we decided to let it slide. However, there's a certain ritualistic procedure to be observed in the privacy of the home. And that's where you come in.
Me?
Yeah.
How?
Well, Lodge headquarters stipulate that every Exalted Big Dipper...
Lodge headquarters stipulate every Exalted Big Dipper what?
You'll make fun of this.
Well, don't tell me that.
Well, you're mixed up in it, though.
Really?
Rush, take volume 7 in my Lodge library and turn to page 118.
I'd like to know what I'm mixed up in that nobody's asked my permission about yet.
In this ritualistic ceremony, in the privacy of the home, you're supposed to take an active part.
Am I?
You have to serve me my supper.
Serve you your supper?
Yeah.
I always do serve you your supper.
Barefooted.
What?
I expect you'd laugh.
Page 118, Gum.
All right, hold it.
This is next Saturday night. I trot around barefooted.
Kiddo, will you let me explain?
Oh, sure.
It's a serious, sober, impressive ceremony, and although I understand it's liable to strike you comical, I wish you'd try to appreciate the fact that the sacred star of the Milky Way is...
I won't laugh. Go ahead.
Next Saturday evening, at precisely 11 o'clock, the Exalted Big Dippers of every chapter in the country will sit down to supper.
Kind of a late supper.
Yeah.
Rush and I will probably want to eat earlier. Go ahead. I'm not laughing.
We don't have to go through the ceremony, Sade. Nobody'd know about it if we didn't bother. But I've always been a conscientious officer in the lodge, and I'd like to do what I'm supposed to do.
Sure.
Volume 7, open to page 118, Sam.
Yeah.
Read aloud, beginning at the first paragraph.
The Exalted Big Dipper will seat himself at a small table at precisely 11 o'clock.
You eat alone, huh?
Yeah. Do we have a small table?
Card table, do?
Sure.
You can borrow Donahue's.
Oh, will you do it?
All right.
Of course, you don't need to tell him what we want it for.
Don't worry, I won't.
Read on, Rush.
The room will be illuminated by green lights, so arranged...
Fella can buy green electric light bulbs at the 10-cent store, can't he, Sade?
I suppose.
All right.
Room will be illuminated by green lights, so arranged that large shadows are cast on the wall opposite the Exalted Big Dipper. The Exalted Big Dipper's wife will enter barefooted, carrying a plate of thin soup. This she will place on the table. Bow twice to the Exalted Big Dipper without speaking, turn around, and tiptoe away. Hey, am I in on this?
No.
Can I watch?
No.
I'll watch through the window. I'll give Bluetooth Johnson and Vernon Pegels and Leland Richards...
You do no such a half-wit thing. Anyway, the shades will be tightly drawn. Read.
The Exalted Big Dipper's wife's face will be free of talcum powder and lip red.
Oh, hey, now.
Well, you don't have to do it if you don't want to. Only thing is, it's a regular prescribed procedure. As a conscientious officer of the lodge, I'd like to obey it.
It's so kind of halfway heathenish.
Yes, I expect it strikes you that way.
Oh, I'd hate to have Miss Harris or somebody bust in and find you sitting underneath a green light eating thin soup and me trotting around barefooted. She'd get the impression she busted in on old King Cole.
She'd think, by George, she was in snake-infested India and a gang of guys out of the Arabian Nights.
Oh, hush. Your father don't want to be jollied about this.
As a matter of fact, I don't.
Read some more out of the book.
Exalted Big Dipper's wife's face will be free of talcum powder and lip red. She will see that her hands are clean and her hair neatly combed.
I hope so. I don't generally serve supper with dirty hands and my hair in my eyes.
If convenient, station several persons in an adjoining room and instruct them to maintain a low moaning and wailing during the course of the meal.
I'm afraid that won't be convenient.
No.
Leland Richards and Vernon Pegels and Bluetooth Johnson and Smelly Clark would only be too delighted.
Read.
Huh?
Read.
Leland Richards can slap out more low moaning and wailing than
Read.
After the Exalted Big Dipper has finished his thin soup, he will be served a small bunch of white grapes. The white grapes will be followed by 1 ounce of rare beef, ungarnished with salt, pepper, or any other condiments.
I call that a pretty slim meal.
Oh.
You're going to eat your regular supper with us that evening, aren't you?
Oh, sure.
An ounce of rare beef wouldn't stay a person's stomach 6 seconds.
Read, Rush.
Ungarnished by salt, pepper, or any other condiments. The beef will be followed by a single lettuce leaf and a sip of cold water. Hey, talk about your hearty lunch.
Is that all, Rush?
At the conclusion of the meal, the Exalted Big Dipper will remain seated and ponder for 2 hours.
Well, that'll take clear up till 1 o'clock in the morning.
Well.
Huh.
Is that all, Rush?
It's all the directions. Goes on to say, our founder, R.J. Konk, instituted this procedure on the 19th day of December 1881. He was in Topeka, Kansas at the time, and in an address he delivered at the fire department in that city, he said, in hoc ad yeper geek, sim spittle dem clock no, disputandum vip, ad nauseum spinch gonk, cornucopias division.
Never mind.
Huh?
Never mind the Latin.
Okay.
Well,
I wouldn't be surprised but what Fred and Ruthie asked us to play 500 Saturday night.
if we play here, won't we?
Yes, I expect so. It's our turn.
When we play here, they always go home around 10:30. Never later than 10:45.
That's right.
Our ceremony don't begin until 11. Well.
All right.
You'll do it?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Which concludes another brief interlude at the small house halfway up in the next block.
Well, sir, it's late afternoon as we approach the small house halfway up in the next block now. And here, walking along the alley towards home, we see Mr. Rush Gook. The young man has just finished an intensive session of baseball in Tatman's vacant lot. He quickens his pace now because he discerns a familiar figure on the back porch. Listen.
Hi there.
Hello, Rush.
Isn't anybody home?
Fine. Glorious day.
Yeah. Isn't anybody home?
Fine. I guess nobody's home.
Mom's downtown shopping with Miss Stembottom, I think.
Yeah, that's about the size of it. No, I only been sitting here about 5 minutes.
Like to come in the house?
Very pleasant out here, Rush.
Yes, it is.
Take a seat. I'll move over.
Okay. This your box?
Uh-huh. Box of mementos and souvenirs Sam Escher sent me down from Dixon.
Oh, sure. I remember you mentioning them. You want Mom to find space for them in the house someplace.
That's right. Well, this half-wit box can be stuck down in the basement or up in the attic or tucked back in the corner of a clothes closet.
Uh-huh.
It's just junk and trash, but stuff a fella hates to throw away.
Yeah.
Got a trunk full of junk and trash, too, at home I'll bring over tomorrow, next day.
Maybe you better consult Mom about it first.
Fine. No, she can throw the half-wit trunk in any old corner.
The reason I say you better consult Mom first, Uncle Fletcher, is because I heard her remarking to Gov we haven't got any extra storage space around here.
Uh-huh.
I even wonder if she'll be able to find room for this box.
She can toss it behind the cellar steps if she wants to.
There's a pile of stuff a mile high underneath the cellar steps already.
Fine. Care to look at some of these souvenirs and mementos, Rush?
I'd like to. You didn't lug this big box all the way from Miss Keller's house on your back, did you?
I brought it over in Gumbox's garbage wagon.
Oh.
Tomorrow or the next day, I'll get him to haul the trunk.
I think you better talk with Mom about that.
Uh-huh.
Because I'm almost certain she'll say she can't.
Here's the picture I told you about the other day.
Oh, uh-huh. Buffalo Bill.
Buffalo Bill on his Indian pony.
It's a gaudy picture, ain't it?
Enough different colors to choke a horse.
Yeah.
Green, blue, purple, red.
Black, orange, yellow.
What color is this here?
10, I guess.
Uh-huh. I watched the fella paint this picture, Rush.
Yeah, you told us about it.
Grundy County Fair, year 1904. $2 it cost. You paid your $2, and the fella sat down and splotched out your half-wit picture right on the spot. Hey, Sadie may want to hang this up someplace.
Uh-huh.
Now, here's an interesting memento.
Razor strap?
Man that gave me this razor strap, Rush, claimed it had been used at one time to flog Orville J. McWilliams.
Really?
When Orville J. McWilliams was a little boy. You know who Orville J. McWilliams was, don't you?
No.
Teachers never taught you about Orville J. McWilliams in school?
I don't place the name.
Likely you were sick this day. The pupils studied about Orville J. McWilliams.
Maybe. Who was he?
Explorer, discoverer.
What did he explore and discover?
Slathers of stuff. Every morning at 6 o'clock, he'd leave the house and go explore and discover some half-wit business.
Well, what?
Explored and discovered the Mississippi River, didn't he?
Gee, I don't think so. Seems to me DeSoto was the fella done that.
George DeSoto?
I don't remember his first name.
Fine. Well, anyway, Orville J. McWilliams never took a backseat to anybody when it come to exploring and discovering junk. Only man in the exploring and discovering business that wore a derby hat.
Yeah?
All the rest of them wore duck hunters' caps. Sherlock Holmes kind of did, you know, a bill down the back and a bill down the front.
Uh-huh.
Orville J. McWilliams wore a derby. The way the story goes, he went fishing without his papa's permission when he was a little boy. His papa took this razor strap and flogged him. I once made the acquaintance of a great-grandson of Orville J. McWilliams, a fellow going under the name of Speece, Harry Speece, dead now. At the time I met him, he was working on the section gang on the Chicago and Alton Railroad out of Gardner, Illinois. Wore a heavy overcoat winter and summer. Reached almost to the ground and had a fur collar on it. You'd see him out on the track driving spikes with the thermometer 95 degrees in the shade. You say to him, Harry, ain't that overcoat warm? I like to be comfortable, he'd tell you. I suppose he was comfortable, or he'd have taken it off. Great-grandson of Orville J. McWilliams, a famous explorer and discoverer.
Uh-huh.
Never heard of Orville J. McWilliams, huh?
No, I'm pretty sure I haven't.
It's likely you were sick the day the scholars in school studied about him.
Uh-huh.
His father flogged him with this razor strap for going fishing. The fellow that gave me the razor strap was Fred Yebuckle. I believe Sadie knew Fred Yebuckle. She ever mentioned him?
Not that I remember.
Fred Yebuckle. Married a woman 42 years old.
How old was he?
46. But you never saw a business like this before.
What is it?
Nobody knows.
Whoa. What's it for?
Nobody knows.
Looks kind of like a can opener.
Yes, it does. Looks kind of like a can opener. But whether it's a can opener or not, nobody knows.
Where'd you get it?
Archie Williams and his brother Pete gave it to me after Archie passed away. Archie was an inventor, see? He invented this contraption and died before he had an opportunity to tell his family what it was supposed to be. You can't open cans with it. You can't play music with it. You can't do anything with it. Still, although it's a memento, a fellow don't like to throw away. This will surprise you.
Rock?
Rock I picked up one Sunday afternoon on the bank of the Fox River near St. Charles. Hefted once. Take a good tight hold. It'll fool you.
Heavy.
Heavy as a half-wit horse.
Well, I'll say.
You wouldn't think a little rock like that weighs so much, would you? Drop it once. Heavy as a half-wit horse.
Yeah.
No, I picked up that rock one Sunday afternoon while I was strolling along the Fox River with Harry Veep. Harry Veep lives in Winona, Minnesota now.
Bet he married a woman 59 years old.
What?
I say I bet he married a woman 59 years old.
Harry Veep? Harry Veep married a woman 20 years old, by George.
How old was Harry?
25. Married Beulah Rutcher. They live in Winona, Minnesota now. Got a Christmas card from them the year before last. Here's a souvenir from someplace. I forget where it was now.
Shoehorn, huh?
Yeah. Where did I get this shoehorn?
Oh.
What am I saving it for?
I don't know.
I got it someplace, and I'm saving it for supper. Well, let it go. It'll probably come to mind sometime or other.
It's got printing on it.
Has it?
W.J. Morrison and Son. Fine footwear for all the family. Boone, Iowa.
Fine.
Maybe you got it in Boone, Iowa.
I never been in Boone, Iowa.
No?
Never. I've been to Cedar Rapids, I've been to Ottumwa, I've been to Sioux City, and I've been to Des Moines, but not Boone. No, sir. Ask your mother when she gets home. She'll tell you. She'll tell you I've never been to Boone, Iowa, and she won't blink an eye. Here's a framed picture of some half-wit. I can't recall who he is.
Funny bald-headed, ain't he?
Yes, indeed. Might be some relation to my landlady's. She's got relations by the bushel. Spread all over the country, too. Maine, Massachusetts, Kentucky, Ohio, all them states.
New York, North Carolina, Wyoming, Texas.
All them states. Tennessee.
Michigan, Montana, Utah, Maryland.
All them states. No, I don't know who this half-wit is. Tell you what, Rush. Maybe your mother'd find it more convenient to distribute these souvenirs and mementos around the house. In place of keep them in this box.
How you mean?
Fine.
I didn't quite understand.
See, this is a pretty bulky box. Takes up considerable space.
Yeah.
Sadie might rather empty the box and tuck the different souvenirs and mementos in separate places. This picture, for instance, she could keep in her dresser drawer. This rock could be hid away in a bookcase, shoehorn in the library table. Same way with the junk and trash in the trunk I'll bring over tomorrow, next day.
I think you better discuss it with Mom.
Fine. Oh, she might like the distributing arrangements a good deal better.
About that trunk, Uncle Fletcher, I think I can tell you Mom hasn't got an extra inch of space.
Here, by George.
Sleeve garters?
Dead sleeve garters. I got no more elastic in them than a rabbit. One of them sleeve garters in a bet. Oscar Slavers, fellow there in Belvedere, bet me a pair of sleeve garters he could crack a walnut with his teeth. Chewed and bit and choked and sweat for an hour and a half. Never phased the walnut. These are those sleeve garters. Oscar Slavers. Didn't have sense enough to stay out in the rain. Married a woman 34 years old.
How old was he?
36. Here's a bicycle pants clip. Button off a policeman's uniform. Another picture some half-wit. I can't place who he is.
Oh.
Relation to Miss Keller's likely. She's got relations all over the Union. Pennsylvania, Oregon, Delaware, Washington, all them different states.
South Carolina, Vermont, North Dakota, Louisiana.
All them states. Arkansas.
Florida, New Hampshire, Arizona.
All them states.
This rock interests me. It's so little and yet so heavy.
Uh-huh. Picked up that rock one Sunday afternoon while I was strolling along the Fox River. Harry Veep was with me.
Darn rock weighs a ton.
Drop it once.
Blamedest rock I ever saw.
Uh-huh. No, junk like this is just trash, not worth a dime, but a fella hates to part with it.
Uh-huh.
Fella collects souvenirs and mementos. And
Hey, here comes Mom up the alley.
Yeah. Probably she'll want me to bring my box in the house and shove it under the Davenport or someplace.
Oh.
Clothes closet, cellar, attic. I don't care.
Oh.
Here's a watch Bob Hobart Anderson gave me for Christmas 20 years ago.
Huh.
Hobart Anderson. Married a woman 41 years old.
How old was he?
47. Hello, Sade.
Which concludes another brief interlude at the small house halfway up in the next block.
Well, sir, it's early evening as our scene opens now. And here in the living room of the small house halfway up in the next block, we find Mrs. Victor Gook and her son, Mr. Rush Gook. The latter has just arrived home with a bit of intelligence his mother finds upsetting. Listen.
Where did you see Uncle Fletcher?
Up at the corner of Kelsey Street. He was on his way to the Bright Kentucky Hotel to visit Mr. Gumpox.
He didn't have the railroad tracks with him.
Naturally not. Nobody could lug a ton of steel around.
Well, who all's going to get railroad tracks?
Us, Mr. and Miss Donahue, Mr. and Miss Stembottom, and his landlady, Miss Keller.
Goodness gracious.
I'm giving away a secret telling you this, Mom, but I thought I'd better.
Yeah, maybe we can put a stop to it.
Where's Gov?
Out on the front steps. Vic!
I die, who go?
Come in here once.
Is there a beautiful woman, heavily veiled and greatly agitated on the telephone?
Come in here once. Where are the railroad tracks now?
C&A shops. Uncle Fletcher's pal down there cut up the different sections just this afternoon.
How much does each section weigh, did you say?
440 pounds.
My star.
Uncle Fletcher considers them very dainty, cute little presents. A 4-foot length of railroad track rush, he says, makes about as good a doorstop as a fella'd want. 440 pounds of solid steel can be depended upon to hold a door open or hold a door shut.
I should think so.
Greetings, Dr. Sleech. Who's your funny-looking chum?
Hi, Gov.
I don't believe I care to bandy familiarities back and forth until we've been properly introduced. I come from a quiet, cloistered home, and my parents ask you to call the police.
Look, Uncle Fletcher really meant business when he said he was going to give us a monstrous chunk of railroad track to put on our front porch as a door holder.
Huh?
Tell him, Willie.
Well, I bumped into Uncle Fletcher up at the corner of Kelsey Street about 5 minutes ago. He was on his way to the Bright Kentucky Hotel to pay a visit on Mr. Gumpox. By the way, Mom, he's going to use Mr. Gumpox's garbage wagon to haul his railroad tracks in.
Well,
Personally, I don't think that old rickety garbage wagon can hold 4 sections of railroad track. See, each section weighs 440 pounds. 4 sections would weigh 4 times that, or darn near a ton. 2,000 pounds in a ton, ain't there, Gov?
Yeah.
What's 4 times 440?
1,760. 240 pounds short of a ton.
Carry 1,760 pounds without collapsing. Furthermore, I don't think Howard can pull 1,760 pounds. I don't think any horse can. And Howard's a delicate horse.
well, tell your father what Uncle Fletcher said.
You're a good boy, right?
Besides us, he's going to give door stoppers to Fred and Ruthie, Mr. and Miss Donahue, and his landlady.
Thought he'd give his landlady one for her birthday.
He intended to, but his pal down at the C&A shops couldn't get it ready in time. I guess it's quite a trick cutting railroad tracks into 4-foot lengths. Fella has to use an acetylene torch or something.
Holy smoke. What a door holder.
A door holder weighing 440 pounds can be depended upon to keep a door open or keep a door shut.
I'll say.
Well, we don't want any such contraption on our front porch. Fred and Ruthie and Mr. and Miss Donahue don't want any such a contraption on their front porches either. It'll make embarrassment all round if my uncle forces such junk on them.
We have to be careful of Uncle Fletcher's feelings, of course.
Well, yeah, that too.
He's all hopped up about it. You'd think he was handkerchiefs or something.
Well, tell Gov what he said.
You're a good boy, Rush.
You pulled that comical remark once. We've all had a dandy big laugh. Now let's discuss this business serious. When's he going to deliver his chunks to railroad tracks?
He never said. I guess that's what he's going to talk over with Mr. Gumpax tonight at the Bright Kentucky Hotel.
Waiting, ain't they?
Uh-huh. All Uncle Fletcher's got to do is go down to the C&A shops and pick 'em up.
I'd like to see him pick 'em up.
So would I.
Well, how many fellas would it require to pick up for?
How many?
4.
4 namby-pambies, maybe. It'd only be 110 pounds apiece.
Yeah, I guess you're right. I can lift 110 pounds.
3 fairly husky guys could do it easy.
Yeah.
So me and Ruthie and Miss Donahue and Miss Keller are going to have door stoppers on our front porch. We have to move around when we sweep and scrub that requires 3 husky men to lift up off on the ground, huh?
Yeah.
Oh, Uncle Fletcher, Uncle Fletcher.
I wouldn't want to have this exquisite, fragile little gift fall off the People's Bank building and clunk me on the head. I'm afraid to scratch my flesh and draw blood. Now you
hey, man, I forgot an angle.
Huh?
Uncle Fletcher's going to get his landlady to cover the railroad tracks.
Cover 'em?
With velvet.
Oh.
You know, like some people use a brick for a door holder and cover it with cloth?
Uh-huh. Miss Elders has got one. Hers is covered with gunny sacking, though. Burlap.
No cheap gunny sacking for Uncle Fletcher's door stoppers. He's putting out velvet.
Velvet-covered railroad tracks. It's an effete civilization. Pretty soon the human race will get so soft it'll put melted marshmallows on its weenie wurst.
Embroidered lettering, too, man.
Embroidered lettering?
Bright sayings and junk. Like ladies sometimes have on sofa pillows. Welcome to Galena, Illinois. Conductor, get off my foot. Stop making them goo-goo eyes. Every cloud has a silver lining. Ouch, your doggone dog bit me on the leg again. You know.
What's Uncle Fletcher going to have embroidered on his door stoppers?
Let's see. He mentioned a couple bright sayings.
Your cousin is a half-wit. Your brother is a slob. I think I'll quit the section gang and get another job.
No.
The night is dark and stormy. The rain is coming down. I'll button up my...
Oh, here's one he mentioned. I'm only a piece of heavy steel, the product of the forge. I'll hold your door, either open or shut. Step up and call me George.
Oh, my.
He made that up out of his own head.
Must have been a great strain.
Uncle Fletcher's okay, Gov.
Yeah, I know he is.
Uncle Fletcher's a good boy.
I sweep my front porch every day and scrub it every week. Person has to clear stuff out of the road before they scrub and sweep. Why, I won't even be able to budge 440 pounds. And a hunk of metal 4 feet long. It'll take up half the porch. Everybody will stumble over it.
Yeah.
440 pounds.
You realize approximately how much that is, ma'am?
No.
Well, Miss Harris's roomer, Mr. Breed, weighs in the close neighborhood of 200. Steve Chestbutter also weighs around 200. Little Charlie Husher up the street weighs 40. There's your 440.
Wrap up Chestbutter, Charlie, and Breep in a piece of velvet, Sade, and pick 'em up. It'll give you an idea of what to expect when you start wrestling your doorstopper around.
Oh.
I don't think anything will come of this.
How you mean?
Uncle Fletcher will never be able in the world to bring a ton of steel away from the C&A shops.
He'll have Mr. Gumpax to help him.
It's my honest opinion Mr. Gumpax would be embarrassed if he was called upon to lift 30 pounds.
Yeah, he's certainly no strong man.
No, I'll just lay you a little bet at 25 cents. Those 4 chunks of railroad tracks stay at the C&A shops.
Huh.
And another thing. Just wait till Uncle Fletcher consults his landlady.
Yeah.
He always does consult her about stuff, don't he?
Yeah.
Well, there you are. She'll knock his little idea out of his head quicker than you can holler watch fob. Don't you think so?
Yeah.
Sure. She's a smart woman. She won't let him distribute 4-foot lengths of railroad track among friends of yours. I'd forget the whole affair.
You hate to see Uncle Fletcher get disappointed, though. He was just carried away tonight with...
boyish enthusiasm.
Exactly. Boyish enthusiasm. Rushy says a doorstopper you can really depend on.
Telephone ringing. Telephone ringing.
Bluetooth Johnson, likely.
Answer and see.
Might possibly be Vernon Peggles.
There's a remote chance it's Smelly Clark.
True. As far as that goes, I wouldn't swoon with astonishment if it turned out to be Rooster Davis. Hello? Oh, hello, Mr. Envada.
$500.
Fine, thanks.
Want to play?
Sure.
She's right here handy.
All right.
Sounds like she's got just the faintest trace of a cold.
Yes, lady. Oh, finished my dishes hours ago. No, just sitting here with her teeth in her mouth. Uh-huh. Why, we'd think elegant. Sure. All right. All right, fine. You bet. All righty, Ruthie, we'll be looking for you. You bet. Goodbye. Leaving right now. Means a trip to the drugstore for you, Dr. Sleech.
Oh.
A velvet-covered chunk of railroad track 4 feet long.
A door stopper weighing 440 pounds can be depended upon to hold a door open or hold a door shut.
Yes.
I'm only a piece of heavy steel, a product of the forge.
I'll hold your door either open or shut.
Step up and call me George.
Which concludes another brief interlude at the small house halfway up in the next block.